Greetings, students of the Force, and welcome back to the channel as we open up yet another holocron. Darth Sidious was the culmination of everything that the Sith had been working towards for several thousands of years, and the ultimate result of Darth Bane's rule of two. Darth Sidious was the ultimate Sith. During his reign as Emperor, when Sidious was not directly governing the Empire, he spent his spare time collecting many ancient Sith artifacts and strengthening his knowledge of the dark side by studying their many manuscripts and holocrons. Since he had gotten access to the Jedi Temple's entire vault full of Sith artifacts, he had spent a great deal of time gorging himself on the information long lost to the Sith and hidden away by the Jedi deep within their vaults. Even though Palpatine regarded himself as the greatest Sith to have ever existed, he still held the accomplishments of the ancient Sith in high regard. But with this raises an interesting question, and one that we wanted the answer to. Which of the previous eras and years of the Sith did Sidious admire most, and which of the Sith Lords did Darth Sidious actually consider to be his favorite? Well, our researchers have gotten their hands on a few of Palpatine's journals, and by reading through them, we might be able to discern our answer today, and who Darth Sidious considered to be his favorite Sith Lord. It is a bit of a difficult answer to truly find, as again he never explicitly states who Palpatine actually favored, as Sidious keeps his real feelings towards the Sith Lords himself rather vague. Instead, he offers his opinionated commentary on a few very specific lines within the manuscripts of the ancient Sith. You see, Sidious was a person who cast his net wide and gleaned knowledge from any source that he could prove himself useful to him. But not all hope is lost, as we have reason to believe that he actually favored one specific Sith Lord, and that Sith Lord was the works of Naga Sadow. Again, Sidious never explicitly states which of the Sith is his favorite, however, he pulls a lot of inspiration from Naga Sadow. So today, we'll break down what about Naga Sadow's journey Darth Sidious admired the most, and why he considered him to be essentially his favorite Sith Lord ever. Naga Sadow was a famous Sith sorcerer and the one who instigated the Great Hyperspace War between the Jedi. This would lead to the long string of conflicts known as the Old Sith Wars. Naga Sadow had naked ambition to bring the Sith Empire into greatness, but in doing so, he ended up destroying it. Nonetheless, Naga Sadow was incredibly powerful in Sith sorcery and one of the most accomplished Sith alchemists in the history of Star Wars lore, using Sith alchemy to create insanely massive, mutated war beasts for the Great Hyperspace War that was raging on. At the end of the war, Naga Sadow would build a great temple during his exile on the moon of Yavin 4. Naga Sadow was also considered one of the greatest Sith Lords in single combat, as well as an extremely skilled negotiator and manipulator, something that Darth Sidious took huge inspiration from, as in Sidious's opinion, Naga Sadow was one of the first great manipulators that the Sith Order offered. He was the first ever really thinking Sith, who ruled with his knowledge and beyond the Sith Warblade. He used the skill of his mind and the dark side of the Force beyond his own brute physical skill, and this is why Sidious admired him so much. In Palpatine's journals, he had this to say about Naga Sadow. Naga Sadow was too generous with his knowledge, far more generous than I. Also, despite his powers, he was ultimately undone by his own impatience to expand the Sith Empire. After his death, Sadow's secrets were gained by Frida Nad, who passed them down to the Sith Exar Kun. Because none of them came to a glorious end like I think it best that I guard Naga Sadow's teachings a bit longer. However, I am tempted to incorporate some of Naga Sadow's findings into my own book, The Creation of Monsters. In truth, this all plays to Darth Sidious's pure fascination, that being knowledge in the dark side of the Force and Sith rituals. This is what Darth Sidious spent the majority of his time after becoming the Emperor. He spent his days engrossed in the knowledge of the ancient Sith Lords, and many of the teachings that Darth Sidious pined over belonged to Naga Sadow. This was Darth Sidious's true passion, knowledge. While not a very flattering review, Sidious still pays his respects to that of Naga Sadow and his accomplishments and discoveries, enough so that Sidious desired to incorporate the knowledge into his own works of the Sith. This is perhaps the greatest compliment that Darth Sidious could pay to any of the ancient masters, directly incorporating some of their views and accomplishments into the Force into his own teachings. The work in question is known as The Creation of Monsters, wherein Sidious talks about how to alchemically create Sith war beasts, but in that book, Sidious regards Vader as his greatest monster. He states that even though Vader resulted in somewhat of a disappointment, Sidious took a sick pleasure in knowing that he was able to turn Anakin Skywalker, hero of the Republic, into the most prolific Jedi killer in history. He would also state, interestingly enough, that he wasn't surprised nor very upset that his monster ultimately turned on him, stating that many monsters turned on their creators, and that if he had the chance to do it again, he would create Darth Vader with zeal. What's important to note though is that Darth Sidious noted that Naga Sadow contained and possessed massive power in the dark side, and that he was very much ahead of his era in terms of manipulating the wider schemes of the galaxy, something that Darth Sidious admired about the ancient master the most. However, again, he claims that his fatal flaw was his ambition and his inability to be patient, as again, for the Sith to rise, it took the establishment of the rule of two, and essentially, it took Darth Bane thousands of years in order for the Sith to rise successfully. Beyond this though, Darth Sidious connected with Naga Sadow on an even deeper level, that deeper level being Sidious's fascination with ancient Sith lore. Specifically, what's also interesting to note is that many of Naga Sadow's teaching were housed deep within the Jedi archives and the forbidden section of the Jedi archives within the temple, meaning that the Jedi deemed some of Naga Sadow's teachings to be the most dangerous of all, which is also likely why Darth Sidious deemed Naga Sadow as his favorite Sith Lord. The fact that while he was learning to be a Sith Lord, he was not privy to much of the information and knowledge contributed by Sadow. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on Darth Sidious's admiration of Naga Sadow? Would you like a full video detailing the power of Naga Sadow in a later installment? If so, leave a comment and a like suggesting it. Also, what are your thoughts on Darth Sidious and his culmination of Sith knowledge? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching and continuing to support the channel. May the Force be with you, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.